Hello and welcome to week 2 of the league. I am Steve, and I am playing this week Mr. Ruben. I've got my Lando blue versus Ruben's Vader yellow. My Lando is skewed to the blue focus, so everything in there minus the Liberties and I think one Mandalorian is all Vigilance. So I'm able to name Vigilance, and if I reveal Vigilance off my deck, I can get a credit. So I'm looking to just play huge bombs, and Ruben is playing a very aggressive Vader list. So let's see if this control deck can make it versus this more aggressive Vader variant. Starts out with a General Grievous scuttling guy. I love the art on this guy, and the flavor is so cool. Like whenever he's attacked, he runs away. It's great. So I'm forced to just pass here. Ruben has initiative. I'll go ahead and resource the additional Yaddle. And not having the initiative here is pretty rough, but not the end of the world. We've got a 3-cost Sentinel, a 2/1 with shield, which should be maybe a little bit difficult for Ruben to deal with. If he has the That's a Rock card, he can just discard it to bing the shield and then do the damage and kill him. So he's got the droid, unfortunately. That is the worst. So he discards discards a card in my hand and gets to tap my Yaddle, which is pretty backbreaking. And then he's going to be able to he could potentially claim here. He could pass. Or he could attack my Sentinel, get the shield off of it. He's just deciding what to do. Yeah, this is not a great spot. That opener to be able to just tap down a guy and then discard a card out of my hand is pretty hard to get over. Alright, so he's going to go ahead and ping the shield off using Vader's ability. And we'll go ahead and claim the initiative. He got to get in... Got to go ahead and kill my Sentinel with the Grievous. Resourcing this 2/4. My thought process is I want to keep the Nimble Prowess to be able to tap down Vader when he comes out, and the Liberty just to be able to have a big bomb to be able to deploy when I deploy Lando. So my plan is here to play the 3/3 Sentinel, just try and gum up the ground a little bit, and then make a credit token to set up for Lando's deploy. This could be a little bit of me not truly understanding the matchup, because it's possible that I may have wanted to just go ahead and trade or go ahead and take out the droid now. Going ahead and just playing out my Sentinel kind of just gives him more of an idea of what he can expect from me. So this discard here is pretty rough. He manages to tap down my Yaddle, giving me no option to kill his droid, and takes the Nimble Prowess out of my hand. So I go ahead and use Lando's ability now, make a credit token to set up for Lando's deploy. I have one card in hand, not feeling too great about it. He can easily deal with my Sentinel and then get in for 3 damage. This is just me reading Grievous again. It's not a card that I see a whole lot. And Ruben does have 2 cards in hand, which he is kind of an aggressive negotiations deck, so that is kind of nice, at least that he doesn't have, a lot of cards in hand. Yep, so he goes ahead and kills my Sentinel, gets in for 3. Not a strong draw. You don't really want to be drawing back-to-back Anakins. So we'll go ahead and resource that one. We can put down this Sentinel here, and if he has the That's a Rock card, he can just cleanly deal with this Sentinel. So we're kind of hoping he doesn't have it. Don't really have a whole lot to do with this turn. It's possible that I may have wanted to just resource the Liberty and have 2 plays that turn. I can see that being a realistic possibility. I decided I decided to attack the General Grievous here to just kind of get him off the board. That's when I kind of realized, like, I kind of probably should have done that earlier. But this is probably the first time I think I've ever actually played against Grievous. But getting him off the board, I feel like, was the right play. It puts another card in his hand, which isn't great, but it does put him in a position where he has to develop his board instead of just dealing with mine. And I think that's important. Just got to make it another turn. This, he does get to kick. He pays 2 extra to make me discard a card, which I discard the droid because at this point I'm all in on the Liberty. That's kind of my whole thing here. Discarding the droid hurts, and I'm kind of all in on this Liberty at this point. This is where I get a little greedy. I should not be making credit tokens, especially with just 1 card in hand, because he's almost certainly going to claim initiative here, which he does. And then I lose the initiative. I discard the hyperspace disaster, go and resource that. I don't think that's going to be that relevant here. Ruben just making his resource decision. And this is the turn. Like, I'm going to have 6 resources, so I can deploy Lando. That'll give me 5 resources. No. That'll give me 4 resources, or 4 credits, sorry. 10 resources. And I'll be able to deploy Liberty. And just kind of hope to ride that right into victory. So there's the deploy. And I have the option to delete, to play out the removal spell, the removal event. Get rid of one of his units, and then Lando can kill the other one, which I think is what I end up doing. I end up just saving the Liberty because my thought process was he's going to deploy Vader next turn. My hope is that he deploys Vader, he puts like sudden ferocity or something on it, and then I play Liberty and just tap it down. That was kind of my thought there. So I go ahead and do that, kill that, with the idea of Lando being able to trade with that 3-1 and then me be able to play Liberty to tap down Vader. That was kind of my thought process there. Not great draws there. I would have liked to have seen something different, but that's fine. Go ahead and resource the Sentinel in space. I don't think this is going to be decided in space. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But at the time, I didn't think it was. Yeah, so I'm assuming at this point he just attacks with a 3-1 to get the damage on base. I do only have 2 hit points on base. So, oh, he trades. Well, that's fantastic for me. I passed because I'm assuming he's just going to deploy Vader, and then I get to play Liberty and tap it down. Other case scenario, okay, so he does play into space, and this is where I start getting a little worried, like, oh, I forgot about that card existing. So, but I'm still in this headspace of, well, he's got to deploy Vader this turn, right? Like, it's this the deploy turn, but he doesn't. He has a very heads up play and says, you know what? I don't even need to deploy my Vader. I've got a 5/4 in space that you seemingly have no answer to. I'll just claim and get my 5 damage in, which I think was a great play on his part. Very heads up play. And here's where I realized, like, I can play Kanan and I can play Liberty this turn. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of waste an action. It was a little risky on my part to target Ruben, but I felt pretty confident that I could hit it. And I end up hitting it. But I named Aggression, and most of his deck is Aggression, so it ended up working out good. I milled That's a Rock. This was kind of a funny interaction. I milled That's a Rock, so he had to do 1 damage to a unit. And he only had 1 unit on the field, so he had to do 1 damage to his own unit. So that was kind of a fun little interaction that I hadn't seen before. I'm still waiting on the Vader deploy. I'm still thinking like, okay, that's a thing that's gonna happen. But at this point, I'm like, all right, I need to waste one more turn, so I play Kanan out with no value, just to get a unit on the field. I've still got 8 resources to be able to play Liberty, and he doesn't have enough to play Vader and then Senta. But this upgrade is going to be the death of me, because now I've got to find a way to get rid of this stupid upgrade. So I go ahead and play Liberty out. I'm like, you know what? Play this thing out. I'm not going to get to tap down Vader. Vader's probably going to come out, which he does. But at least he only has 1 card in hand. And I think between 9 damage and his Vader and another Liberty in hand, maybe I can race it. And interesting enough, he decides not to deploy Vader. And at the time, I remember thinking, well, he's got to be like saving up for a good Senta. And I decide I have 8 resources. I love these 3 cards in hand. The Nimble Prowess as an ability to just tap down his Vader if he doesn't Senta. It's pretty good. I take the 2 damage from the upgrade, and I go ahead and just kill the ship with Liberty and tap down the 6 power unit, just being able to try and save as much damage on base as possible. And there's the Vader. He does not have the Senta, so I go ahead and upgrade there and tap down the Vader. And I've got a great ground sentinel in Lando. However, that changes everything. This Bo-Katan was a great draw. I go ahead and resource just to give myself the option if I decide to Bo-Katan, but I'm not going to. Just play out the Liberty, tap down the Vader. I've got a Space Sentinel now, so that if he wants to attack in, he's going to have to trade. And thought process being that next turn I can lay Lando down. I got the ground covered with a Sentinel. I've got space covered with a Sentinel. Here, I know he has to do something for this turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and just see if I can get a credit. It's a free credit, so I target him with aggression, and I do hit. So I do get 1 credit. And at this point in the game, I just target him from now on. There's no reason to start milling myself. We're pretty close in deck amount, and I don't think it's going to come down to mill, but who knows? Maybe. Bo-Katan is probably going to be my play next turn. Go ahead and... Okay, so he attacks in. Misa take the lead. This happened on April Fool's, so Karabast has its wacky little thing. And then... Yeah, and then he just goes hard on space, and this is rough. That 2 damage a turn is really starting to matter. I'm at 19. And this Bo-Katan not really going to do anything. It's not going to be enough to save me. I can kill that 1 unit, and I can shrink everything, but it's not going to be enough to get me back in. I don't, even the second one isn't going to be enough. Yep, going to 22. I just, take initiative. There's nothing really else to do. I have 8 hit points left. He has 5, and he's representing lethal with being able to discard all 3 cards from his hand with Vader. He can just do 6 damage, so... And I think he's just doing the math now, realizing, oh yeah, 6... 3 plus 3 equaling to 6. Oh, okay, interesting. I must have misremembered that. I thought he killed me there. So he just plays something in space. It really doesn't matter either way. I'm at 29. I'm dead either way. Doesn't really matter what I do, but I kill his leader just for LOLs. It's not about winning the game, it's about sending a message. So it gets in that last point of damage, and we're off to game number 2. Alright, game number 2. I, of course, will choose to go first, and this hand's pretty crappy. I'm being honest. I've got 3 late game things in my hand, and I've got 1 turn 1 play, keeping this incredibly greedy. Even being able to resource 2 of my top end things, I don't really want to resource my Bo-Katans and stuff because I'm kind of looking to play those. I don't have like a whole lot of top end, so keeping this, huge mistake I feel like on my part. I definitely should have mulliganed. But I was feeling confident with the turn 1 play and a turn 2 I can make a credit into a turn 3, you know, Kanan, maybe I can bounce something to hand. That was kind of what my thought process was. Lando kind of gives me a false sense of security in that I can kind of keep questionable hands because his ability is so relevant. But now, after looking at this again, there's no reason I should have kept that. That was a very bad keep. Anakin, a recent addition to my deck, reading it to make sure I know what it does. So this time is a little different from last game because this time I get to have the initiative, and I decide you know what, I'm just gonna attack Grievous, put him back in your hand, and I choose not to, of course, return mine back to my hand, and I'm not feeling too terrible about this. I get to make a credit, and he has no turn 1, so putting stuff back in his hand isn't the best. He decides to go with the 000, which is great for him. I will name Vigilance, name myself, and I hit, so I will get 1 credit. Next turn, I can play Lando, which is a huge sentinel on the ground for him to have to deal with. He claims, I'll just pass. Finn's not bad. I honestly don't know why I resourced him, to be honest. I probably should have resourced... I don't know. Maybe Mando's just better, even though he's more expensive. So from here, I think my thought process was I just want to play Kanan, and I was looking to get more value. I was hoping maybe he would play something for 2 that I could bounce with Kanan. So that's why I attacked first. But it's possible that playing Lando there may have been better. Okay, yeah, I'm just reading him again like, how does this card work? I really do like this card quite a lot. The 2/4 Anakin's pretty good. Alright, so he plays a 3-drop. Makes me discard a card. I discard the Kanan because at this point I'm just like, am I going to play Kanan or am I going to play Lando? And I really went back and forth on this one because I also thought, well, I could play the Tree Remembers and delete one of these units and kill it and not have to use the credit. And that's what I ended up doing in the end. I got rid of the 000 because I thought, okay, 000 does 5 damage. Just go ahead and kill that. Now I just have a 3/3 to deal with. And that 3/3 is going to have a hard time getting through Lando, which I'll be able to play next turn without having to use my credit. So that was kind of my thought process there. I end up ditching the droid here because I'm like, you know what? It's too risky. If he has that Zerok, it's just too clean of an answer. I'd rather just have that than the resource bin. I think the other 4 cards are way better. And from here, my terrible keep really kind of worked itself out. I did not get punished from here. I've got everything I want. I've got a credit. I got 2 big bombs I can deploy either way. Him being able to discard a card out of my hand isn't great here. But I just discard the Tree Remembers because I'm just going to keep my 2 big bombs in hand. I've got a big Sentinel on the ground that he has to deal with that he doesn't have any clean answers to. So feeling pretty good about this, about where I am here. He's going to go into space a little bit, which is fine. Bo-Katan looking absolutely brutal here. The whole time I'm just thinking, how am I going to play this Bo-Katan any faster? I end up ditching the low drop guy for just another wipe, which I think is probably pretty bad. I probably should have resourced the Rhydonium detonation instead. But it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Yeah, so plan is we're going to go ahead and deploy. Interesting, I didn't deploy. Huh. I guess my thought was that that I would like to see him commit more to the board, which, I mean, fair enough. He can't deploy this turn, so you know what? I actually, in hindsight, I actually kind of like that. Looking at this, I would have thought that I would deploy immediately, but maybe now I decide I'm just going to deploy. I don't know. That was a little weird sequencing, I think, on my part. I think I would have just committed one way or the other. I think I don't know. Deploying there isn't terrible because now it sets me up to be able to Bo-Katan anytime I want. I am giving my opponent a lot of time to Garandin me, which would really suck. Alright, so he plays that Stygian Prime upgrade again. Absolutely hate that. And I think here I just realized he's only got 2 resources. He's not going to commit anything else to the board. Let's just go ahead and do this now. I've got 9 power on the board. He has nothing. And it's pretty much game over. Yeah, he just claims because I mean he has 2 resources up. And I think from here on the chat I'm just trash talking, as I'm known to do. Go ahead and resource the Redonium detonation. 15 life left on base. 17 damage on board. And that's the power of a turn 5 Bo-Katan. That's just a nuts interaction there. Yep, that's game 2. On to game 3. All right, we got game 3 out of our best of 3, and this hand's pretty bad. So we're gonna go ahead and mulligan it. It's not a terrible hand, but it's not great just to have nothing to do on turn 1 but use Lando's ability. And I think this is one of the reasons why I think ultimately I'll be switching to the more heroic version of Lando rather than the Vigilance version, because the heroic version, I feel like I have much more better options to play on turn 1. Like, I like being able to play that event that gets you an X-Wing. I like having more options on turn 1. And this, I have no turn 1 play. Feels really, really bad. I have 2 of my in-game cards in my hand. I've got a Nimble Prowess that I don't even have a unit to put on, and I've got an Ezra that's coming down next turn. So just go ahead and name Vigilance, name myself, and hit. So I've got my credit. That's good at least. He's going to play out a 3-1. I think his hand was pretty rough too, if I remember correctly. He was saying that he had a pretty lackluster hand as well, which, you know, bad hand versus bad hand. Let's see who goes. See who does it. From here, I think playing Ezra is the obvious choice, but I decided to go this route because I wanted to ramp again, and I was hoping that he would just go ahead and trade with me here. And it's kind of like I dealt with his unit. I progressed, you know, the game went a little longer. I got to make another credit. I ramped a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, that was my thought process. But playing Ezra, just having the 3-5 was probably the better option. I don't know. I think it can go either way. If I remember correctly, I believe he does trade with me here. Yeah, I just name aggression just to name. I was fairly confident that he had a high density of aggression cards in his deck, which I was right. So I named him with that, got the extra credit. I resourced the redundant Ezra, and I do believe he trades with me here, but I could be misremembering that. But I do have 6 resources. I think here I just trade with him, just whatever. Just trade with him. So he gets in for 3. The shield is kind of annoying. It does mean that when Liberty does come down, it's going to be able to hit my Liberty twice. And, you know, that's not great. So I play the Ezra, then I have the ability to ramp again, which I'm getting pretty close to being able to just play my Bo-Katan without even having to deploy. That's pretty scary. I just go ahead and claim because I don't want him to hit me for 6. I make a pretty huge blunder here by... Oh, I thought I had resourced the hyperspace. I think I resourced the hyperspace disaster next turn, which is a pretty huge blunder in my opinion. But from here, I'm thinking I'll just nimble prowess, tap that thing down, get in for 4. Kind of juke and jive this turn. I do have the tree remembers to be able to deal with either one of these units, but I go ahead and just do this now. Tap down the guy. That thing just hits like a house. 6 damage is so much damage. But unfortunately, Ruben has the hold for questioning, which is rough for me. He gets to tap down my guy, which I would have liked to have actually been. I could have just killed his unit with it, but he discards Bo-Katan out of my hand, which isn't great. I go ahead and tree remembers to get rid of his ship, and then from here, he can just claim and know that he's going to put me at 11. Even more if he aggressive negotiations. He plays that out for no value. I don't know what else was in his hand, but I assume he just wanted to put more pressure on me. I think it's pretty obvious here that I should just claim. Oh, he had asked to take that back. I think he thought that he could tap, he could play that out and still get me to discard. That's what it was. Yeah. So now that he knows he has to be able to tap down the guy to get the discard. Yeah. Okay. That was where I blundered. I discarded the hyperspace disaster, which I didn't think at the time would be that big of a deal because I have this giant space sentinel in space. But here's the one thing I didn't consider is that he has that stupid upgrade. And spoiler alert, we'll see it now. That upgrade is so brutal for me. So now I've got a dead ship floating in space. I go ahead and kill his 6 powered unit. I do draw a Bo-Katan, which is pretty cool, but also pretty far away. I've got a removal spell that is going to gain me a little bit of life. And I'm looking, I'm thinking to myself, I can race this stupid upgrade that does 2 damage to my base every turn. I can race it because I have 8 damage on board. And I have a unit that, or an event that lets me gain 3. So I go ahead and kill his only pressure. I've got a removal spell in hand. Feeling pretty good about things. And then I realize it's Vader's deploy turn. And he does deploy. And boy does he. With a Senta, he smacks into my base for a whopping 6. Now all of a sudden, I don't have more damage represented than he does. I go ahead and kill the Senta just because I want to try and limit how much he can do. And my thought process here is I'm going to smash into... I resourced the hyperspace disaster there. That was a huge blunder on my part. Because I could have used that to get rid of the Liberty and would have been insurance to make sure that he didn't put like the broken horn or something in space. So he has initiative. He's going to get to smack me for 6 at least. And I'm checking my resources because I'm like, how many more liberties do I have? And that's what I'm realizing. I don't have any more. I've got one more. Yep, he aggressive negotiations for 9 damage to base. Not great. Oh, he decides to discard 2 cards just to kill my Lando. It makes perfect sense to me. I'll play a Lando out as a sentinel on the ground to try and stem the bleeding. And there's the second Stygian Prime upgrade that I cannot deal with. That's 4 more damage to base. That's game. I can't get rid of it. And that's where it ends right there. I realize, you know what? I can't get rid of it. I'm going to take that 4. Great games, Ruben. Very well played. This was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot. I feel like I learned a whole lot from playing that. Catch you guys next week for some more League action. Bye.